Hi, mathematicians. Before we start our review activities today, let's go over our I will statements that involve today's lesson of understanding parentheses and applying them to solve problems. I will read the statement as they come across the screen the first time. As I repeat the statement the second time, read it with me and say it aloud as a class. Our first statement is, I will identify parentheses. Say it with me now. I will identify parentheses. Our second statement is, I will show how parentheses change a solution. Read it and say it with me now. I will show how parentheses change a solution. Our last I will statement for today is, I will add parentheses correctly to expressions. Read this one and say it with me. I will add parentheses correctly to expression. Nice job, mathematicians. Now, before we get into our lesson and talking about parentheses, let's do a few review activities first. For our first activity, we are going to be multiplying by sevens. For this activity, we're first going to practice by skip counting by sevens. For example, if we had 5 times 7, we can skip count by sevens to help us find the answer. If we raise a finger for each 7 that we count until we get to 5 fingers, the number that we counted up to will be our solution. Let's see an example of this. Count with me. 7. If we add 7 plus 7, we get 14. Let's keep going, counting by sevens. 14, 21, 28, 35. Nicely done. 5 times 7 is 35. Each of those sevens was represented on one of our fingers. If we go backwards, it gives us the same thing. 35, count backwards by sevens with me. 28, 21, 14, and 7. Today, you're going to practice doing your 7 multiplication problems all the way up to 7 times 5. While you work on these problems, you're going to be doing an activity called Around the World. I'm going to post the instructions and the materials you need on the screen here. Pause, read the screen as a group, and take time to complete the activity before coming back and doing the second warm-up with me. Good job doing your counting by sevens all the way to 35 and getting some practice in with your sevens times tables. For this activities, we're going to continue on just with some group counting and getting our body moving. I will put 3 different group counting activities that you should do on the board. Just like I did before with 7 and had us count by sevens to 35, I will give you a number and a number to count to. Your job is to pick an action to move around the room. Whether it's skipping while you skip count, you can also clap while you skip count, walk, moonwalk. There's lots of different options. While I put them on the board, decide as a class and pause the video to complete this activity. At the end of this activity, you're going to want to sit down at your seats and get your whiteboards out. We are going to be doing a problem, and you guys are going to be following along as I do this problem. So for right now, it's okay if you have your whiteboards, but you can put your markers down as I'm going to walk us through a little bit of a review problem that leads into what we're doing today. Let's read this problem together. Read to each word as I point to it with me. Richard has 2 cartons of eggs, 6 eggs in each. Richard drops 2 eggs. How many unbroken eggs are left? For this problem, we are going to be paying attention to Richard and his 2 cartons of eggs. If you're not sure what a carton of eggs are, here's a picture to show you. In each of his carton of eggs, he has 6 eggs. As we're reading along in this problem, let's draw a picture. So we have our man, Richard, over here. And he has 2 cartons of eggs. I'm going to just draw our cartons of eggs as our boxes, our tiles. In each of those, there are 6 eggs. So there's 6 eggs in this side, and there's 6 eggs in this side. We need to figure out how many unbroken eggs are left because Richard drops 2 of the eggs. Oh, this has happened to me before when I've walked out of the grocery store and I've broken 2 eggs coming home. Because Richard dropped 2 eggs, we need to figure out how many he has left. Maybe he's trying to bake something. To do that, let's first figure out how many eggs Richard has in total. We're trying to find what the total is, or the mystery number down here. We see that there is 6 eggs twice. So we can write 6 eggs. And we see that, count with me, 1, 2 times. He has 2 cartons. Let's multiply 6 eggs times 2. Everybody, or when I point to you, yell out, what's 6 times 2? Good. In each, or in total of our 2 cartons, we would have, or Richard has, 12 eggs. Now, Richard, like we talked about, he dropped 2 of his eggs. It's a sad day. We have to take the total that we had here, and he dropped 2. So he lost 2 of his eggs. So we know he started with 12, but he lost 2. So let's subtract or take 2 away. How many eggs are left after Richard dropped his eggs? So what's 12 minus 2? Everybody shout it out in 3, 2, 1. Good. 10 eggs. Let's write a sentence so we know how many eggs Richard has unbroken. After all the work that we did, we found out that Richard has 10 unbroken eggs. The problem that we did about Richard and his eggs relates to our lesson today because we are going to be talking about solving equations that involve multiple different operations. In this last equation that we just solved together, we saw multiplication and subtraction. That's 2 different operations. Let's go on and do another example problem. Get out your whiteboards and markers, and let's do this next one together. We used these 2 problems while we were talking about Richard and his eggs. To the left here is a picture. It started off as 12 circles because that was the total number of eggs Richard had. And we crossed out 2 circles because Richard lost his 2 eggs when he dropped them, leaving us with 10 circles. Now, if we wanted to combine these 2 problems, we could maybe write it as 2 times 6 minus 2 equals 10. Let's check to make sure this new equation equals 10 before we actually put that. Should we multiply first or subtract first? If I'm looking at this, I'm not sure because I see 2 different symbols. The first time we solve it, let's try multiplying it first. The second time we solve it, let's try subtracting. Let's do 2 times 6. What does that get us? Good, we did that before. That's 12 minus 2. We're going to bring that down because we didn't use it. Is 12 minus 2, 10? Nice. When we started with the multiplication, that gave us the answer of 10. Let's see if we do the same problem, but if we start with the subtraction first, if we still get 10 as an answer. What's 6 minus 2? 4. Nicely done. Let's bring down what's left over. 2 times. Is 2 times 4 10? No, 2 times 4 is 8. So that answer doesn't match our problem here. The order the information was presented to us and the order in which we solved it shows us that we have to solve the multiplication problem of 2 times 6 first. Because we need to do that, we need to use parentheses. Everybody say that word with me. Parentheses. Parentheses are small half circles that go around a set of numbers to signify that we need to solve that part of an equation first. We're going to put our parentheses around 2 times 6. When parentheses are around that, we need to look at that part of the equation first when solving. Ignore the rest of the problem and look what's inside of parentheses. 2 times 6. Everybody, what's 2 times 6? Good, 12. What's left in our problem on the left side of our equal sign? Minus 2. We need to bring that on down. Is 12 minus 2 equal to 10? Yes, it is. So our number sentence would show up, or our sentence would be the same as before. Richard has 10 unbroken eggs. Whoop. Eggs. We were able to do a problem with 2 different operations by using parentheses to help show us where to start. Parentheses can change your answer. Like we saw in the beginning, when we started with 6 minus 2, our answer actually became 8. And that's not what we were looking for. It doesn't match up to our picture. Because of that, we needed to shift the parentheses and focus on what Richard started with, or that 12, and then what he lost, minus 2. And that gave us the correct answer of 10, like our picture shows us above. You guys are going to continue to practice different problems and see what happens when you combine them, just like we did up here, to make one problem, and see if you can put the parentheses in the right place to get the right solution. Good luck, mathematicians.